the video the video I did was the birth of Jesus, and we actually went over our first prophecy and what was said, and we we heard what the angel said about Joseph being the son of David and about Mary still being his wife. And we covered that Jesus is by the Holy Spirit. And I told you a little bit about Ron Wyatt and some other people. And the angel was saying that she had conceived this child through the Holy Spirit and to name him Jesus because he will save the people from his sins. And we covered this. We talked about this. If you had listened to the last my second video, I guess I did. And I went over that it meant God is with us. It doesn't mean that he is God. It means God was with him. When he was in the world, God was in the world with him. And when he left the world, God left the world too. Because we killed his son. I want to make you think about things you never thought about. I want to take you to places that you've never dreamt of places of being. I want to make you walk into dungeons and into caves that you never thought existed, and in prisons that make these places nowadays look like cakewalk. And I'm talking about hard life, time, breaking rock, breaking back, people dying because they don't have enough food in these prisons. I want to tell you about an infant who had a nation and a nations on his shoulders, even at his birth. And we're going to start in Judea, in a small town of Bethlehem. And I don't care if anybody's here listening or not. I'm just enjoying talking about Jesus. That's what it's about. Just enjoying sharing the word. Because somebody somewhere is going to hear it and somebody's going to share it with somebody. That's all that matters. It's not my words, it's his words. It took me a long time to figure that out because I had to go through a lot. I couldn't understand it for the longest time. Because sometimes God trains us for something and we don't always know what he's training us for. And sometimes even the enemy tries to condition us to do his will. And I'm going to show that to you. And I apologize for any background noise in the background, the TV going or whatever. And now, see, I'm reading from a 1970 Bible, which is actually older than some of my other Bibles I have. And in the newer Bibles, they call them wise men. Here in the 1970 version I have, which is Apocrypha 1970 version, it calls them astrologers. Basically, they're star watchers, stargazers, like the astrologers we have today. But these astrologers are special. They're special. See, they can match up the constellation and the stars with what's about to happen. So they knew that the Star of David was at its peak. This was when it was supposed to be at its full, and they knew this because all the signs led up to this moment. And I'm going to get to this point in a little bit. And these wise men, we see them, and we're going to follow them. And we're going to follow Jesus, and we're going to follow Herod. We're going to learn, have a little history lesson as we go along. And hopefully, I might actually be able to teach you something for being uneducated. without a high school diploma. But this is the way I understood the Bible because I had to live it. I had to live it. I had to understand it. Not just read it, but actually physically live it. It became alive to me. And I'm going to explain how it became alive. I was 4 when it started to come to life for me. But in the meantime, I'm going to share this with you. And I'm not going to get into my testimony until later on, until we get to the red letters. Because that's where my testimony begins. And that's where your story also begins. Believe it or not. See, right now, we're just only listening and watching and paying attention to what's being said. And I'm going to introduce you to each new character as we walk along, like Herod, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, all these people, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, you name it. I'm going to introduce you to them all. And as I introduce you to them, I want you to see that they're just like you and me. And we're just like them. The only difference is they can't really see us. We can see them. We can interact with them. We can hear them. But they can't interact with us. They can't see us. And we're only going to use our imagination because that's all we really need. Believe it or not. See, as I said, our story starts with after Jesus' birth in Bethlehem in Judea. And there was a king. He wasn't a very nice king. And I told you I was going to tell you about this king. Anybody that tried to come against his reign upon the throne, he would kill. He even killed his own sons so they could not take the throne. He swore he was going to live forever. He actually even believed that the prophecies were written about him at one point, or so it's told. There's many legends about Herod. He killed a lot of children, and we'll cover that as well. So as I said, he was not a very nice man. So Jesus, not even a day out of the womb, is already has a nation on his head, on a bounty that wants him dead. Think about this. So here we are, and the astrologers just get in from the east. They just arrived, and they're going through the town, and they're asking questions about this new king of Israel, of Jerusalem, of Israel. The newborn king of the Jews. Where is he? We want to worship him. Where is the new king? And nobody knows where he is. They're looking at him like these men, like, what are you talking about? And they're trying to explain it. We followed the star from the west to the east. How many of you decided to follow something from east to west? I did. I left everything I owned, my family, my children, my ex husband. God bless his soul, wherever he's at. I wish him the best. And I hit the road and I became homeless and I decided to follow Jesus. And he asked me, "Are you sure this is what you want?" I was staying in a hotel room panhandling just to keep the hotel room that a car discount auto place put up the hotel money for. That's right. Put up the money for the hotel for 3 days. It's my responsibility to keep it. So I did. Hurricane Michael came through. This was in Georgia, Valdosta, Georgia. Hurricane Michael came through. It's pretty devastating for a lot of people. ended up with a backpack. A gentleman named Michael showed up and said, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to get you out of here. He showed up on the train the day that Michael the hurricane hit. He was there the next day, and I was said, okay. I asked no questions. The man had tattoos from head to toe. He could have been a murderer for all I knew. They called him Trainwreck. Last I heard, he died of an overdose. Another homeless friend I knew died, froze to death. Go figure. That's how homeless life is. And I want to tell you about that. And I want to cover that more. And that's how my journey began to follow Jesus. A man I called Michael, who I believed was an archangel Michael, who had tattoos from head to toe, who called himself Trainwreck. I got to Dalton, Alabama. They called the Circle. Ended up on a Greyhound all the way to New Orleans. Ended up with a single gear bike and rode the bike all the way to San Antonio, Texas. But that's not all my story. I was murdered. I was killed behind some railroad tracks. You say, what does this have to do with Jesus? I'm going to explain why this has to do with Jesus. Because you have to go through something. The guy that was with me beat me to death. I started breathing. He beat me so badly, I didn't know I was alive or dead. The last thing I remember was my kid. Next thing I remember was God, Jesus telling me it's not my time. Wake up. It's not my time. Wake up. It's not my time. Wake up. And I woke up. He had beat me so bad that my eyes were swollen shut and they had blood in them. My ears had blood dried up from where they'd run out of my ears. My nose was bloodied from where it had run down my lip. Imagine if that was Jesus. You did that too. My ribs were sore. I had multiple concussions, multiple skull fractures. Imagine what Jesus paid for. And if I went through that and I was willing to suffer that much, how much more are you willing to suffer for Him? How much more are you willing to give to Him for Him? So, and that being said, nobody knew who this King of the Jews was. All they know is they were looking for the Messiah. They're waiting for the Messiah. Where's the Messiah? The Messiah had to come. They were going to destroy. He was going to destroy the Romans. They thought that's not what it meant. So Herod called forth his chief priests and his scribes of the people, and he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. So they went away and they went to their vaults and they went to their scrolls and their writings and their ancient histories and everything else. And they come back with another prophecy. And they come back with another prophecy. And this prophecy starts in Matthew 2:5. And we're looking in. We see Malachi 5:1, Psalm 7:2, 10, Isaiah 65 as well. And those are some of the prophecies we're going to look at. But here we see in 5, it says, in Bethlehem of Judea, they informed him, here is what the prophet has written. And you, Bethlehem, land of Judea, are by no means least among the princes of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people, Israel. You are to shepherd my people, Israel. And that's what Jesus came to do. See, I told you my story for a reason. Because Jesus, when he comes, he's going to say, follow me. The question is, are you willing to follow him? Are you willing to walk away from everything you ever owned, everything you ever knew, your car, your money, your house, your family, your religion, everything you ever believed in, just to follow Jesus? Some of us are afraid to even step outside of our own front doors. Some of you couldn't even make it a day outside in the woods. You'd cry if you broke a nail or broke a heel or your hair got messed up or a lizard fell on you or a snake slithered in front of you. You'd trip over your own shadow. You wouldn't make it a day homeless. You would need a shelter on that first day. You would. Because you don't have it in you. You've never been through something. It's alien to you. It's scary to you. It's not normal to you. You're used to taking baths and showers, but now you're homeless. Now you decided to follow Jesus because he is the shepherd and he did come to lead the flock. And this is a revelry to wake up. This is a revelry to wake up, to pay attention. Stop listening to false teachers, false prophets, false prophetesses. I'm neither of them. I'm not a teacher, a preacher, a prophet, none of that. I'm just speaking from the heart, from the spirit. I'm just talking to you the way I would talk to my best friend. I talk to God all the time, just the way I'm talking to you right now. That's why I don't let you see me, because I want you to hear the spirit, not see the flesh. Because I don't need you to see what I'm doing. I want you to hear what I'm saying. See, Jesus needed you to hear what he was saying, but we were too busy not listening. We were too busy not listening. So, Herod called the astrologers to his palace. And you can imagine how beautiful his palace is. It's the palace of David. It's going to be gorgeous. Just imagine the tapestries and the armor and the guards and the, the servants and the maids and the food and the lighting and the torches and the splendor of it. And imagine, look at how you're dressed right now. And you're watching every scene of this. And here's Herod calling forth the astrologers, these wise men that came from the west to the east to pay homage to Jesus. And let's hear what he has to say. He's talking to this. go and get detailed information about the child. When you have found him, report it to me so that I may go and offer him homage too. He didn't really want to go pay homage. He just wanted to know where the whereabouts of Jesus was so he could kill him. Because he wasn't going to have anybody take his throne. Nobody is going to take his throne. He didn't care who it was. I mean, this is a man who killed his own sons over his throne. What makes you think he wouldn't kill an infant for his throne? There are some very wicked, evil people out there, men out there, women out there. And we're seeing that every day. You know, for those who follow me on TikTok, you hear me talk about this. You already heard me talk about this. He wants full detail and detailed information on where he's at. I mean, they want him to. He wants them to describe it to the T, down to when he goes to the bathroom. But God had a plan. See, God wasn't going to let this child die. He wasn't going to let nothing happen to this child. See, he already had everything set in order, all the way to Joseph getting married to Mary. But he lies to him and says the reason he wants to know is so he can go pay homage to him. You don't need full details to go pay homage to him. Just follow the star. Just go follow the star if you believe. So, after the audience of the wise men, we find ourselves heading back out into Judea, back toward the small village of Bethlehem. And we're probably hearing them talking among themselves. We probably don't know what they're saying, but they're probably talking among themselves about Herod and how they really didn't like Herod. How many people? How many are you like that? How many of you have met people like Herod? You just get bad feeling vibes about them, and you just don't want to be around them. You don't want to go back around them. This is basically how it was with the three wise men, or the three astrologers, how you want to call them, depending on what Bible you're reading from or looking at. And after they begin to travel and they begin to see the rising of the star, and we see this finally see the star ourselves. And we see the star coming at a standstill in a very humbled place. And we're just standing there in awe. Because for our eyes are angels and shepherds in the field with their flock standing around this little cave that was just no more than just for animals. And the baby laid in a manger that was nothing but a feed trough for an animal with some hay on it, swaddled in some rag cloth, maybe with a small little torch just to keep enough warmth and light going through the night. And you could probably hear the angels and all the heavenly celestials singing their songs as we approach. is the most amazing thing you see. And you see that it's not just a torch that a light's going, but a small little bundle. A small little bundle looked like it was lit up. And looking at Mary and Joseph, they looked like they were shining just as brightly as that little bundle of joy. And you're just standing in awe. And you can imagine the smell, but you're in too much awe to even worry about the stench of the animals that probably was there. But they probably also cleaned out the hay and the other stuff that was in there. Because remember, there was no place at an inn for them. And normally they would stay at a relative's place when they went into the town, if they had relatives that lived there, or they would get an inn for the night. But since there was no place for them to sleep, and not even an inn, they had to sleep in a cave where animals were kept. And yes, it was a cave, it wasn't an actual structure. Okay. So we're in awe and we see these kings and they enter where Mary and Joseph is. And we see them offering their gifts. They give them their gifts, and what they give them is really unusual gift. Normally, this is something you give at a burial when somebody dies, and what they give him is coffers and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold is to pay the way through hell to the other side. The oils and the incense is for the body and to have the soul go safe passage through. Or so some of the, if you believe in a lot of myths like Egyptian myths, mythology, Greek mythology, things like that, a lot of these, they get a lot of their stories from our stories. They do. They steal a lot of our stories. And they claim that they were here first, but they weren't. That's what gets me. Anyway, it's not important. It's not important. Okay. So after they admire the baby, they go and set up camp. And they receive a message in a dream. So here we are. We're in their dreams again, like we were in Joseph's dream. And in the dream, it was a warning not to return back toward Herod. Don't go back. Because Herod has bad intentions. Sometimes there's people in our lives that have bad intentions. They do. They want to see us fail. They don't want to see us succeed. Sometimes they want us to try to stop us from something that we have our hearts set on because they think they know better. And sometimes they don't. How many times do you feel like that? Or how many times have you done that to somebody else? Don't do that. We have a habit of doing that. We do. We have a habit of doing that. Don't do that. So they did go back to their own country by another route. And this is where we're going to leave off right here because we're going to pick up the flight into Egypt on the next lesson. And I really can't wait to get to that because that goes into a lot of dreams and stuff. Anyway, God bless you. Remember, you're the salt of the world, the light of the world, and always keep the armor of God on. And you're the voice in the darkness. God bless you.